Well, hello, Chicago sports fans. Welcome in. Very excited to be here at Monsters of the Madhouse. There we go. I see you there, Mr. Cleet. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. This is awesome. We're excited to come on in with you and talk everything Chicago sports. Me and Cleet were just talking about it, how this is such a fun time of the year right now, not only because it's summertime, but there is so much going on, especially with our baseball teams. We actually got winning baseball we can talk about today, which is something that we haven't talked a whole lot about. So I'm excited. Well, at least for one team, we could talk a little bit about winning baseball. We got some football to talk about. So thank you guys all so much for joining us tonight. I also want to thank TC World of Wonders, where you can hang out, you can check that out. And first name for safe, reliable, stylish, and affordable transportation. Serendipity Ice Cream Parlor, home of the refreshing funnel cake sundae with strawberry. Sounds delicious on a nice warm day as we get ready here for summer. O'Connor Martial Arts and Fitness. Join the life-changing movement today. And Bridges Scoreboard Restaurant and Bar, your Northwest Indiana Chicago sports headquarters, with the Hall of Fame menu, proud host of our Steve McMichael fundraiser, which we are going to talk about a little bit later here, which is coming up in September, which you guys can still get your tickets for. Well, thank you guys for coming on. My name is Matt Cooper. I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, living in beautiful Louisville, Kentucky right now, where it is nice and warm, and we're trying to not talk about horse racing right now or anything to do with horses, at least for the time being. There's something going on with that. And I want to introduce to you, too, before we get to our guest tonight, our co-host who is back. He was out last week, a man that does a lot for our show. He does a lot of great articles, puts together a lot of great articles. He had a great Marcus Stroman article that I read last week about the possibility of what you do with him here at the trade deadline, or if you were signing him. I really enjoyed that. And he helps put a lot of our show together in the beautiful state of Iowa. Mr. Cleet Soup Campbell. Cleet, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, Coop, my friend, doing great. Great to be back with you and our great Monsters of the Madhouse family. Like you said, so much going on right now in the Chicago sports scene. I mean, every team is kind of like at a crossroads of what do they do now kind of thing. And we've got the perfect guest, a man who covers every single sports mile of Chicago, to break it down with us tonight, Coop.
Yeah, very excited to introduce him to you. He's actually on our show, I want to say about a month ago, maybe a month, 6 weeks ago. We really got into it on his start. And really, I loved his story on how he got everything started at a young age. And he's done so much else. And we got a lot to catch up with him with. He is our guest tonight, the host and founder of Sports Talk Chicago, Jon Zaghloul. Welcome to the show. Welcome back.
Fellas, great to be back. Thank you for having me. You guys put it so well. So many teams just in a crossroads, kind of like, what should we do? So it's really fun to come back on with you guys and break it all down.
Yeah, and Jon, we got a lot to talk to you about tonight. First off, we're going to get to this a little bit later in the show. One of your videos I watched, there's a couple of your videos I watched, but one kind of stood out to me about a certain player that I think is going to be interesting when it comes to the Bears. I feel like there's a lot of questions going into this season, but there was one that you specifically brought up. So we're going to get into that and a little bit of baseball. But we talked last time a little bit about your background, and you the founder of Sports Talk Chicago, which is awesome. We love following you on your YouTube channel. But there was some other stuff that you kind of started off with too as well. You have a background in not only that, but a little bit of radio and a PA announcer for baseball for the Windy. Was I say that for the Windy City Thunderbolts? See, when I lived there, it was the Crestwood Thunderbolts. I think they changed their name now, right?
They did. They changed the Windy City Thunderbolts as long as I've been alive, but I'm a little bit younger. So yeah, probably Crestwood back in the day for sure. They still play out there.
Showing my age a little bit. I'm a young 23, so add about 20 years to that. So what's funny about PA announcing, because I've done ring announcing, so I feel like there's some correlations when it comes to that. Not only that, when it comes to announcing your names, but there's so much that goes into it. So when you were there as the announcer, not only do you have to sit there and get everything right, what's going on with the game, but what's really important when it comes to games like that, minor league games, is what's going on between the innings and some of the games, especially when you got a lot of families, because a lot of those type of games attracts families. So kind of take us kind of behind your day, whether you were announcing the names of the players or different types of games that you were playing, and how much work that is that you had to put into it.
Yeah, that's a great question. Nobody's really asked me that before. I was only there for one summer with the Windy City Thunderbolts, and really, I saw it as kind of a stepping stone opportunity. I mean, there are some people who get into it to be the next Gene Honda, be a PA announcer for 60 years, and kudos to them. I think it's a really fun thing to do. It was a great experience. Not really what I was looking for, but I certainly learned a lot in the time in which I was there. Usually we get in about an hour and a half before game time, get the lineups from the coaches, or they were provided to me usually by the radio broadcaster for the night. Go through pronunciations with the opposing team's broadcaster, and I'd always be given, and they were great. They treated me so well. They gave me a long script, pages and pages, probably a 30-page script that would go through kind of everything that would go on each night, each read that you had to do per inning. I had to do 30 minutes before the game. We had to do a list of announcements, thanking sponsors, reading out like safety info, all those sorts of things. We try to get in announcements in between batters even, and there was directions on the script about that. And then obviously announcing things in between innings, like you said, sponsor reads, fun things on the field. At Windy City, they did like a golf thing during the 7th inning. They'd have people golf in the outfield. So being sure that I was ready for something like that, a lot of ad-libbing, a lot of just different things that I was used to for sure. Awesome experience. I certainly learned a lot, learned about the importance of pronunciation and the importance of just learning how to ad-lib during a game in front of, 2,000 people on any given day watching baseball. So fun experience, great people to work with. I loved the booth up there, the coworkers that I was with, very fond memories of how things went up there. And then, after a year, I ended up going on to different projects, went to the Crestwood Panthers and did more of the play-by-play route. That was more of what I was trying to do. But certainly the PA announcing route is something that was unique to my career experience and something I look back on with very fond memories for sure. And there's a lot of talent for those who do it. And I respect those who do it today because it is not an easy gig. You don't just walk up and start announcing. You got to get there beforehand, do your prep, and then understand what's expected of you when you're not calling out players' names. And I think that's part of the difficult part behind it, really.
Yeah, absolutely, John. It's a fine art, and you're doing so many things. You're an entertainer, you're an informer, you're ad-libbing, and it's live entertainment, as we know. Coop, of course, is afternoon draft host at Louisville's #1 hit country music station. So there's a lot of different play at it. And for you, for everything you've done since then, did that really lay the groundwork for you, to launch Sports Talk Chicago in terms of getting you the confidence that you could go out there in front of an audience, have the poise, and then really not only that, but really, I'm sure creatively for you, you got a lot of ideas that you've incorporated in your work since then.
Yeah, I mean, I think it certainly helped. I think it just helped public speaking wise for sure. How could it not, right? You show up every day, although you're not necessarily in front of people. You got 2,000 people, 1,000 people on any given night listening to every word that you say. You got to make sure that mic's turned off when it's supposed to be off and turned on when it's supposed to be on. So, there were some great things that came along with it. Certainly great experiences that came along with it. Just a lot of learning for myself. And, something that certainly helped me when it comes to Sports Talk Chicago, no doubt. When it came to interviewing guests, learning how to more so speak on my own, learning how to command a mic better and just understand, how to speak to an audience. All those things came with that sort of territory. And I didn't see it that way at first. I thought, hey, it's fun being a PA announcer. But after I left and I saw how the production value of my show went up and just saw how my public speaking skills improved, even in that summer, I realized, hey, this was a great opportunity. And I'm happy that I got the chance to do it for sure.
Yeah, I like these type of jobs, kind of like how we all start off. Same thing here. Like I started a job doing some horse racing announcing, which I didn't know much about horse racing whatsoever. But you want to talk about something that throws you right in the fire of things, and you really learn your way. You learn the balances of how it works, but you also go through the highs and the lows. And I think what I like about you, because your videos are so good that I watch when especially now that the last ones that you put out here the last couple of days. But was there something you took away before, even as you got your show, Sports Talk Chicago, started and working in radio? Because radio is a lot about timing. You have to be on time for so much, especially when you're doing a sports talk show, any type of talk. So, me using the music radio for so long, we got the songs, we got the length of the songs. So we kind of know what time we're gonna go around, but we got away. A lot of times you're so formatted in what you have to do. So what did you take away when you were starting off with your shows, and now that you have your shows, when you were working in radio? Was it like certain timings and the production and the I'm not going to say script, but the clock, I should say, of putting everything together when it comes to your show and radio at the same time?
Sure. I think my situation is a little bit different, a little bit unique in the sense that a lot of my shows, especially in radio early on, were not necessarily on a clock, but they were, like brokered. So I was on a clock, but I wasn't. I had to, I would pre-record the show, but I'd have to make sure it fit within the time constraints and be ready for when that clock hit because my voice was going to be cut off. And I had to make sure I submitted the right kind of file, made sure the timing was correct. And, in those cases, you just learn about the importance and the ability to hit a clock, like you said, the ability to understand how to format an argument at the time that you're given. It's essentially like a debate, like a presidential debate. Well, it's just a sports talk radio show. Hey, you got to make sure you get your point across. You open it up and you get the point across in the time that you're kind of given and the time that you're allotted. There is no extra time. There's no hanging around with the guys at the bar, talking for 3 hours and not having any format. You got to be right on time. You got to be making sure you hit that clock. So certainly important, certainly something that I learned from it. And, like I said, kind of with the PA announcing, and it kind of applies here too, it's helped me. And it's really, I wouldn't even say helped, it's forced me to be a better broadcaster, whether it be hosting a radio show, doing play-by-play, doing interviews with other people. All of that has served as great experience to help me be a better broadcaster and churn out a better, more valuable product. And I will say too, I've never been on a show in which caller interaction has been number one. A lot of these sports talk radio stations today, hey, caller, what do you want? Call the number. A lot of my shows were brokered. And even today, a lot of it's pre-recorded to put on YouTube, put on podcast, radio, TV. It's going everywhere. So essentially, there is no caller interaction, which forces me to do a much better job at caring about what I talk about. We got to fit a format. We got to fit a time. And there is no crutch of, caller, what do you want? I'm going to react to what you say. No, it's more so, hey, it's all on you. Good luck. And again, having that sort of format my entire life, although it's not necessarily traditional, it's helped me become a better speaker and a better conveyor of information and entertainment on the radio airwaves, TV airwaves, and the podcast/YouTube airwaves as well.
Absolutely. All the things that define your show, John, the production values, the entertainment, on cue, on point, a lot of those things have been missing from 35th and Shields this summer. Right now, the Chicago White Sox have more broken pieces than a Southside salvage yard. From your perspective, what is the best course of action, John, for this franchise as the Major League Baseball August 1st trade deadline approaches? Blow it up and trade everybody possible for potential prospects, or stay the course and see if you can make a run in the most winnable division of baseball?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it's something that as we speak, the White Sox seem to be weighing out the pros and cons publicly because there hasn't really been a statement of we're going to sell or we're going to buy. It's kind of been back and forth, and we recently saw John Heyman come out and say, oh, Pedro Grifol is going to be a one-and-done manager. Rick Hahn has refuted that. Kenny Williams came out early in the season saying, I'm very troubled and very concerned. The point is everybody's speaking, but no actions are being done yet. And as we hurl closer and closer to August 1st, someone's going to have to step up and do something. Personally, this division is so weak and mediocre that the White Sox, despite all their struggles, are still in it. They're a 9-5 stretch away, or a 10-12 game winning streak away from being the leader in this division, which is crazy to think, but it's possible. If they get hot at the right time, they could be leading this division in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So how do you approach that from a trade deadline perspective? I would say if the Sox are still in it, although I might sound like a meatball for saying this, I think they should go for it because what's the harm? Well, what's going to be the harm in going for it and winning this division? Okay, you're going to get bounced in the ALDS potentially or in the wild card round. Okay, fine. After the season, you regroup, you see who you can keep, you get rid of who you can, and you move forward. I don't think anybody on this White Sox team specifically is going to be commanding such a large trade value. And look at this lineup. They have 2 hitters, or I think 3 hitters if you want to count Jake Berger, who have OPS pluses above 100. Everybody else doesn't. In the starting rotation, Lucas Giolito's been the only quality, consistent pitcher. Kopech's gotten better as of late, so has Cease. Lance Lindstow's an ERA above 6. I mean, what assets do you really have to trade right now? And what are you going to get for somebody like maybe a Lance Lynn or, even a Tim Anderson, supposedly? Let's say he's on the market. He's one of the worst qualified hitters in baseball right now. So you're not going to get much for all these guys who are struggling. If you traded some of them last year when they were more at their peaks, you could have gotten more back. My point is you have to weigh the cost benefits. If this Sox team is 3 games out, the trade deadline comes, and everyone's still playing like they're playing right now, I would say stay the course because what are you really going to get? What quality of player are you going to get back for these guys who are down in the dumps? So I think they have to be careful of what they want to do. The positive is they still have some time. I hope they go on a run for their sake, for Pedro Griffol's sake, for this team and their fan base's sake. But even if they don't, would it be wise to fire sale everybody when they're not at their peak? That's something that they're going to have to consider.
That's funny you bring up the division too, because for as bad as the White Sox have played, and I mean, usually when stuff goes wrong, all these questions start coming up.
Right.
You just talked about it. And these are fair questions, by the way. When you're an underachieving team, like I saw the Rick Hahn, I saw him speak the other day, and it looked like he was getting a little, and granted, I can understand why he was getting a little upset, but at the same time, when you're underachieving like that, these are fair questions. People want to know, and anything could happen at this point because everybody on that side, whether it's upper management, the managers itself, or the players, everybody's underachieved. So everything's wide open. But at the same time, when you're only 4.5 games back in June, and when you kind of look at the landscape of baseball of everywhere right now, especially in the American League, I mean, you got the Rays, who are a great team, and probably to me the best team in the league in all of baseball. They're that good. But I think if they could come on a little bit of a streak here and start putting some pieces together here, there's not really any other team outside of the Rays. You know, the Rangers, who they're playing right now, is a very, very good ball club. The Angels look like they're a little bit better. But other than that, maybe Baltimore, I think they can sit there and compete with anybody in this American League. And I think it would be crazy to think that if you're 4 or 3.5 games out, even with everything that is going on in the summertime, that you can make some ground here, especially as we get closer here to the trade deadline.
And that's when you know that they're tanking, right? I mean, if they're 3 games out and it's July 31st and they decide to trade everybody, I would say that's a weak and sad move for the White Sox. That's when you know, okay, they're purposefully doing this because no person in their right mind would say, I'm 3 games out of a division lead. I'm 3 games out of a playoff spot. We have 2 months to go. I'm selling everybody. That would make no sense. And knowing that the Twins are at the top of this division, I looked at their numbers today. They got 2 hitters in their entire lineup with OPS pluses above 100. The only reason they're staying alive is because they have 3 competent pitchers in their rotation. Other than that, they are in the same boat as the White Sox, who are in the same boat as the Guardians, who are in the same boat as the Tigers. All of them don't want to win this division. All of them are having issues offensively, specifically. So there's more time and there's more of an opportunity for the White Sox to win. It is not over by any stretch. And if they do sell and they're 3 games out, I'm going to be disappointed. And it's not because I'm a fan or I want to, I'm a big fanboy for the White Sox. No, it's because why would anybody do that? Why, if you're 3 games out, would you just sit there and say, you know what, we're done? That's a dumb move, no matter how you slice it, in my opinion.
You know, Clete, I want to bring you in with this as we're talking a little bit about the White Sox. I want to move over to the Cubs. We're talking to Jon Zaghloul right now. Thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight. And when we talk about the Cubs now, first off, I want to stop by saying the AL Central is a weak division. And Clete, our Cubs fan, I know he can relay a little bit more on this. NL Central, I'm not saying that's a weak division right now because the Cincinnati Reds look like a very – and Clete, we've been talking about this. I've been mentioning this for the last month. I'm like, there are some guys down here in Louisville – they got a stud player that looks like he's going to be a top 5 player, and they got other guys coming up, and they have completely turned around.
Yeah.
Yes, and so the Reds are a good team right now. They're a totally different team than the start of the season. The Cubs also look a lot better, too. And Clete, as you're watching it here, too, and John could chime in, I think a big difference is, the offense has gotten going here, but, boy, the pitching performances from Kyle Hendricks and then Marcus Stroman, when you got pitchers like that and the way they've been going out and putting out in positions where they can win, that's a winning formula right there, Clete.
Yeah, without question. Justin Steele, Marcus Stroman is right now, I think, the top candidate for National League Cy Young award. You're absolutely right, Coop. 4 series victories in a row. John, you've been watching this team. I want to go all in. I want to dream.
Uh-oh. I think what happens was when he was trying to go all in with
this season, where they. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit better now.
Okay, sounds good. But John, what is the ceiling for this Cubs team? Are we talking about a true contender in the National League Central, as Matt has said, is wide open, or is this a team that is still a year away from being a serious playoff contender?
I think they could easily win this division, and I think the peripheral numbers have actually suggested it. In fact, as we speak today, they're the only team in the entire division with a positive run differential. which to me was news. I mean, even the Reds, I mean, even on this streak, they're still in that negative zone. They're about to get to positive. Don't get me wrong, but as of today, everybody's negative except the Cubs. So it begs the question, what the hell's wrong? Why are they not leading this division? As you guys said, I think their starting rotation is key. You got Steele, you got Stroman, 2 perennial Cy Young Award candidates. Hendricks has been back with a vengeance. And then, by the way, Drew Smiley, 3.38 ERA and 15 starts. That's all I could ask for out of a guy who's really a 4th, 5th starter for the majority of his career, including with this team right now. Their starting rotation is so solid. In fact, I would say this, if the White Sox had the Cubs starting rotation, they'd be leading that division in the AL Central. And I'll say that boldly right now. But the Cubs have great pitching, relatively speaking. They certainly have good hitting. I mean, I'm looking at their lineup right now. They got a plethora of guys. They got 6 out of their 9 regulars who OPS plus is above 100. So really, what's the problem? On paper, this team is so good. Why have they not won as many games as they should have? And I say, David Ross has a lot to contribute to that, some poor managerial decisions and just some bad games out of this team that have kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. They've gotten better so much as of late. They've turned it on so much as of late. And although the Reds are hot, and although other teams are in the mix, the Pirates, the Brewers, what's going to separate all these teams truly at the end of the day is going to be pitching. If Justin Steele, Marcus Stroman, Kyle Hendricks, and Drew Smiley, those 4 perform as they are right now, the Cubs by default are going to win this division. No other team in this division has 4 quality arms who are all performing as well as they are at the same time. Marcus Stroman leads all pitchers in WAR, ERA, and now innings pitched in the National League. He is, if the season ended today, my pick for Cy Young, and Justin Steele's right behind him. So this team has 2 perennial Cy Young Award candidates on top of 2 quality starters, plus their lineup, which has been relatively good despite a couple of bad apples. As long as their rotation continues to perform at the way it is right now, they're winning this division, no question.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, too, how this all comes together, because I do think if there's one thing that could set the Cubs back a little bit, it could be that offense. Because I feel like it could kind of go in spurts like it has here so far this season. So it's going to be fun to watch out here and see what the NL Central ends up being. We're here with Jon right now, Sports Talk Chicago, for a couple more minutes. And I was talking about it earlier, Jon. We're watching as we get ready here next month. I mean, I can't believe we're even talking about that, but we're going to start talking about training camp here next month. And there's so many questions when it comes to the Bears, rightfully so. They're in the midst of a rebuild. They've gotten a lot better here, a lot more talent this year. There's still a lot of questions. I would say we still got the Justin Fields question. Who's going to rush the quarterback? But one of the videos that I watched from you that I found very interesting was on Chase Claypool, and I feel like and I can relate to this one because as living in a household with a diehard Steelers fan like my girlfriend, I've watched every Steelers game the last 3 years, and I kind of put it this way, and I'm really rooting for this guy too. I think you said that too, that you were a big fan of him in your video, and I'm rooting for this guy because I feel like he's got some talent there. But there were so many games I watched him in Pittsburgh where I would just shake my head and I'd be like, there was way more talent with this guy. Why is he not going up and getting that ball away from the cornerback? But then you see him make a great play, and then what really boggled me is, okay, I could see if a team like, the Cardinals, Cliff Kingsbury's trading this player away. He's coming to the Bears in the middle of the season. All right, it's the Cardinals. Mike Tomlin, I have questions because Mike Tomlin is one hell of a football coach. He's the reason why that team wins every year. And he literally just traded Chase Claypool in the middle of the season for a draft pick. Now, I understand why they went and got that draft pick because it ended up being a pretty good – looks like it might be a good draft pick this year. But essentially he was saying we got other players on this team that are here to take your spot. And it was pretty much saying we want to get you out of here. I know you hear all the rumors, that kind of other stuff that went on, that some stuff behind the scenes. I have no idea, but I always have questions when coaches like that are just automatically giving up on players. So I want to see, what is it that Chase Claypool needs to do this year? It's his contract year, and this dude can get paid. If he goes out there and performs, he can get paid. But what do you think he's going to have to do now, especially after watching your video about preparation issues and stuff? What's he going to have to do to take that next step now? Because according to all the other reports and stuff that we watch out there, it's like, if your people are getting on your case for this, that is the one thing you don't want when it comes to preparation.
He has to show that he wants to give a damn about the game again. I think it's pretty simple. He has to show that he cares about football. And I'm surprised that I'm sitting here saying this. And, this guy's a seasoned vet, 1,000+ yard season before, WR1 in Pittsburgh at one time under Big Ben Roethlisberger, and of course Mike Tomlin. So it's pretty shocking to have to sit here and try to pump up somebody or motivate somebody who's kind of already had somewhat of a storied career in the NFL. And he's still young, by the way, still relatively young.
Yeah.
But he has to show that he wants to, that he gives a damn about Bears football, that he gives a damn about his career and about the NFL. I find it unacceptable that there are reports coming out that he's unmotivated. And I don't care. Okay, news aggregators, everybody's talking about, oh, this might be fake news. At the end of the day, it shows, right? He is quote unquote injured. He hasn't really practiced much in minicamp. And on top of that, even in Pittsburgh, like you said correctly, and we got a resident Pittsburgh guy on our channel. His name's B Wicked. He watches all of our Bears stuff, and he's a Pittsburgh fan as well. He told me about Claypool from day one. He said, this is not that good of a move for the Bears. Well, it turned out to be right last year, right? Played horribly, wasn't really targeted much. Then we find out he had problems learning about the offense midseason, which was somewhat understandable. I mean, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, but now we're seeing more reports saying he's unmotivated. So now it goes back to, wait a minute, even from last year, was it really a, hey, I'm trying to learn the offense, it's really hard for me midseason, or is it, I don't even want to be here, I don't want to play football anymore? So he really has to show out. And what boggles my mind further is the fact that he is in a contract year. You would think there's a lot of motivation here for him, not only just for his own performance, but obviously for financial reasons. Next year could be offered a big contract and make some serious money being out in the open market. But no, he's not even practicing. Obviously, there's a long way to go, and he could turn some heads this season. I think, conservatively speaking, considering that the Bears already have DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney, 800 to 1,000 yards for Claypool, I think is going to be a success and should be spun as a success for him. I'm not going to sit here and say he needs 1,500 yards or he needs 1,300 yards again like he did in Pittsburgh, because he's not the WR1. We can't expect WR1 numbers out of somebody who will not be getting the amount of targets that DJ Moore gets. That said, he needs to make plays. He needs to put up some sort of numerical value to show, hey, I'm still a quality NFL wide receiver. Because last year in the Bears uniform, he didn't show that. The Bears are stuck with him now because of the trade and because of what they gave up for him. And Ryan Poles was roasted about that. And quite frankly, should have been. I don't blame him for the trade because on paper it looked great, but it turned into a big dud last year. Chase Claypool has to redeem himself this year. And he has to show that he gives a damn about playing football. And again, I can't believe I've been saying that. I can't believe that these reports are coming out that we have to sit here and encourage somebody and beg them to come on the field and play. You don't got to play. If you don't want to play, then don't show up. There are many other people who want to play football. If you don't want to play, then don't come to the damn field. Don't even be on the team. Cut yourself, retire, and be done. But if you want to play football, then get damn motivated, get on that field, and make an impact.
Yeah, John, amen, 100%. If these issues carry over in a training camp and we see him going half-hearted on drills, is there a real chance that he's not even on the Bears 2023 opening day roster? I mean, could he possibly play his way off this team before we even get to Green Bay?
I mean, I could totally see that, and if I were the coach, I would do it, but we got to remember that there are other implications, I would say. I mean, Ryan Poles, although he's so smart, and I gave him a lot of credit for this offseason, he's not going to want to cut somebody who he gave up essentially a first-round pick for, right? So I think because of that trade, the Bears are going to be handicapped into keeping Claypool regardless. And I'm not going to sit here and criticize his training camp necessarily. I mean, he is still unmotivated. That's obviously another warning factor, and we're allowed to say what we want to say. I just want to see what he does on the field, right? I want to see if that unmotivation is because of, hey, it's the dog days of summer, you know, maybe, hey, coming off a bad year, not in the right mental space, or I don't want to be here at all, and I'm going to suck ass on the field. That's going to be a whole different story. So I think we got to wait and see how he does during the games. I don't think he's going to be caught or banished from this team. If he doesn't show effort, the merit system should say, and if I were coach, I'd say, Chase, you're out of here. I don't care who the hell you are. But again, I think because of the fact the Bears essentially gave up a first-round pick for him, they're going to be obligated to keep him. And especially considering he's in a contract year, financially speaking, they would be incentivized to keep him regardless, since they're not paying him a big contract. You know, that they could keep him for one more year, knowing it's a contract year, and they made that trade for him. I think he's going to stay. But his performance is going to be indicative on his effort, and he has to show that he wants to be here, and at least during the season, hopefully he gets an opportunity to do that. Hopefully he wants to do it, because right now it looks as if he doesn't even want to be here, doesn't want to be on a football field. And, you know, everybody can make their own life choices. That's fine. But if you don't want to be here, then just retire. Then don't show up anymore, you know, because you are going to be here. You're going to be subject to this team as long as you're on the roster and as long as you say I'm still on the roster.
And you guys can watch that video, by the way. If you follow Sports Talk Chicago on their YouTube channel, or you go to Jon's Facebook page, I'll have the link on there. I encourage you guys to go watch that video. There's other great videos you had on there too. That I enjoyed the Justin Fields one that you had, but that one really caught my attention about Chase Claypool. So you guys watch that. Jon, before we let you go, could you give us a little bit of a tease? You don't have to tell us what's coming up, but maybe a little bit of a tease of something that you're working on right now for Sports Talk Chicago.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is not more of a tease. It's kind of been publicized, but it's probably going to be expanding more and more as the Bears season ramps up. We have kind of launched a network model at Sports Talk Chicago. So obviously you get myself, founder and the face of the network, but we also have now weekly shows with Corey Wooten and Joey Christopoulos. Their show is called Believe in Bears, part of the Believe Podcast Network, but we are producing and distributing their video on our network. So if you go to YouTube, you just got to go to Sports Talk Chicago. You can see a former Bear, 6-year NFL vet, talk about the Bears each and every week. Plus, Clay Harbor, former NFL tight end, been in the league 6 years as well. He's doing his own show with us, audio and video, called the Clay Harbor Football Show, and we're trying to add some more talent. We're in talks with other people, trying to get things shored up before the NFL season. So we're going to be your place to go. Your place to go for football. It's not just going to be me anymore. You don't have to, if you don't like me, you don't have to sit there and watch me. Now you can watch other people who know way more than me and who've been on the field much more than I have. So there are more options on the channel. It's very exciting. Big thank you to them for even wanting to do this and partner up with us. I think come football season, come Bear season, week 1, I think the numbers and just the enthusiasm is really going to go through the roof. So, subscribe today so you don't miss anything, because come football season, things will be going so quick, you might miss out.
I wasn't going to throw Cleat under the bus when you said if you don't like you or not, but yeah, that's a whole other story. Jon, we appreciate your time so much today, and I hope back on the show, especially when we get football, when our football season gets rolling here. We got some winning baseball to talk about, and we would love to get you back on. And we appreciate everything for your time today. And we'll check out Sports Talk Chicago. Jon, thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys got it anytime. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you guys having me and giving me the time as well, just to rant and talk about sports with you. And certainly looking forward to the next time we chat as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
It was our
Jon.
pleasure, Jon. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
So make sure you guys go follow them on all their social. Sports Talk Chicago, and Cleat, as we get wrapping up here, we were talking a little bit. That was an interesting thought that you brought up there when it came to Chase Claypool. I didn't even think of that, about the possibility of making the roster of the opening day roster. So
yeah, and what I work, the thing about it, Coop, is the competition is so big there. You think about it. Who we drafted, the 1 and the 2 that we have there. I mean, I really think if we're in a situation where he's not impressing in training camp, or he doesn't have a good preseason, and I know Jon brought up the good point. I mean, you paid an astronomical price for him, a 2nd-round pick. I just think with the way Brian Poles is, I don't think he has I don't think pride will be an issue with him. If he doesn't think he fits on this football team, or if he thinks there's better receivers in front of him that have passed him by, I can see him cutting Chase Claypool. I just don't see him as one of those guys who's going to be, too proud to admit a mistake, regardless of the cost. So I really think, going into training camp next month, Coop, that's going to be one of the biggest stories, is where is Chase Claypool on this depth chart? Has he fallen at wide receiver 3? Has he fallen out of the rotation? I mean, has he fallen to, possibly off this roster? So, yeah, it's interesting. If I had to put my money on it, I think he's going to be on the team, but I don't think it's a given. We're going to be talking about this throughout the summer.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun to watch this and see how this all plays out. And I can't wait till football season starts, because we're going to talk a little bit more about this. We'll get more people on like Jon that are in the know to discuss a little bit more of the Bears. Clete, before we go tonight, there's the NBA draft tomorrow night, and it's so exciting. It's so weird when it comes about the NBA draft, because we all get excited for the NFL draft, and rightfully so, because the NFL does a very good job of marketing everything. I feel like as soon as NBA season ends, we got a couple of weeks, and there it is, bam, the NBA draft. I mean, we already had a massive trade in the NBA the other day, and I'm just kind of interested to see what you think the Bulls are going to go from here, because I feel like we're getting in all different directions right now. You hear some talk that Zach LaVine's out there for the trade talks. Are they going to blow some of this up? Are they going to keep where they're at? Are they going to add on? Do they think they got one more run with this team? Because quite honestly, I don't. I think this is a time now where you got to really take a look into this and say, we've done this now for 2 years. We really underachieved last year. Maybe it's time to restart this over again. Where do you think direction they're going to go, and what are you expecting tomorrow night?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Coop, because you think about all that work they did, bringing in DeMar DeRozan, Nick Vucevic, Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, signing him for the max deal. All of that got them this year was getting into that NBA's play-in tournament. That's all it did. So I completely agree with you. I expect them to blow this up. Now, the one thing they want to do, we're about 23 hours away from the 2023 NBA draft, as you said, Coop. They'd love to get into that draft somehow. They don't even have a second-round pick, Coop. Mm-hmm. But I don't think there's a magic trick this front office can pull to get back in there. So basically, I think any work that they do rebuilding or retooling this roster is going to have to be after the draft. I don't think everything I'm hearing about the price tag for Zach LaVine, it would be at least 2 number ones. I don't think any team's going to give up this close to the deadline, this close to the draft. I don't think anyone is going to give up that kind of draft capital and then think about what you got to do payroll-wise to get Zach LaVine under your cap. So he will get dealt this summer, I think. I think they are going to go, tear it down as much as they can. The problem is, the thing about you look at this roster, we said it before. Lonzo Ball, we don't think he's going to play again because of his injury histories. Vucevic's a free agent. He needs a new max deal. DeRozan is a hell of a competitor, a great scorer, but he's in his mid-30s. The Bulls are really stuck in no man's land, and yeah, they're going to try to blow it up. But here's the worst part about this, Coop. They're going to try, but I don't even know if they have the pieces really to really reset the table. I think they're going to be next year really kind of in the same situation, just kind of a flat, mediocre, run-of-the-mill team toward the bottom of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too, because I don't know what you're going to get in return if you are deciding to blow this whole up. But I think it's interesting to see what happens here because, already we saw that monster trade with Phoenix and Washington it all up.
Yeah.
In Phoenix, I kind of feel like it's on that last leg. Like, this is it for them. Like, if this doesn't work, I feel like that we're going to do one last effort here. But I feel like teams are moving fast, though. I feel like some of these teams are moving a lot quicker right now. So I feel like if you're going to decide to blow this up, you're going to have to come and make this decision soon because I feel like there's other teams that what is Portland going to do? There's other teams out there that are kind of in the same boat as the Bulls, but I feel like this can go a lot quicker than if we waited out a little bit longer, that might come back and hurt you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody wants to be this. Everybody wants to be the next Denver Nuggets. Everybody has that dream. And they're like, okay, what are the moves that we have to make, to the post? What are the moves we have to make to strengthen our bets to get to Denver's level? And it's great. It's great. It's great that teams are thinking like that. But like you said, there's only 3 or 4 teams that I think really are in position to make a run at Denver. Phoenix is one of them. Like you said, they see the sand in the hourglass kind of ticking away. I thought it was a gutsy move. Especially as popular as Chris Paul is, in the Phoenix area. So, but that's what they were able to make that move, Coop, that you're talking about because they have the pieces. The Bulls just don't have the pieces to pull this off. And even with Zach LaVine, I think they're asking for a King's ransom right now. Will they get it? I'm not so sure. They're going to have to probably take a bad contract in return that will just kind of keep them, spinning their wheels, kind of in terms of mediocrity. So, it's kind of a tough pill to swallow. And you think about it too, is, we're 6 weeks ago, they still had a shot at the number 1 overall pick. That's how.
I know. We all know that.
yeah. So, they're going to see Victor Wembanyama. I apologize. I got to get pronunciation of his name down.
I'll let you pronounce it.
Yeah, they're going to see Vic light up the NBA for the San Antonio Spurs for the next 20 years and wonder what could have been. Ugh. And, it's bittersweet anniversary of the Lance team. It's been 25 years since the Bulls were an NBA champion, and it's hard to see. It's possible, but it's hard to see that them doing that by the time, but before the time that either you and I turn 60. It's going to be a while.
Yeah, it's going to be a while, Cleat, and we're going to be watching. We're going to see how this plays out here. The NBA draft tomorrow night. I'll have it on. Guys, we got a couple more minutes left here. First off, we want to thank Jon for coming on our show earlier today. I want to thank all of you guys for watching tonight and listening and supporting us. That means the world to us. Make sure you guys follow us along too. Next Monday, Trax, Foz, Misty, they all return. They're going to be interviewing Jim McMahon. So make sure you guys tune in next Monday for that show. And then Cleet, coming up in September, as we're going to have a benefit here for such a horrible, horrible disease that has taken over one of our favorites, one of our all-time favorite legends in Steve Mongo McMichael. But we are going to have a night where people can join us for a benefit for Mongo.
Absolutely. That is Friday, September 8th at Bridges Scoreboard Sports Restaurant and Bar, Chicagoland's Chicago Sports Headquarters, with the Hall of Fame menu. And I tell you what, Coop, it's gonna be a dream night. It's a must night. We're gonna have celebrities. So many members of the 85 Bears will be there to help support Mongo. We're gonna have raffles. We're gonna have autograph signings. We are gonna have 50-50 drawings. So many things. And like you said, it goes for the greatest cause. It supports Team Mongo. Steve's family, it helps them, pay the bills against this terrible fight that Mongo's been waging out for 2 years so bravely, so valiantly against Lou Gehrig's disease. And I tell you what, it's going to be an emotional night, but it's a night that every Bears fan will want to be part of. And as you said, it's only $50 at the door. You can call Bridges Scoreboard at 219-924-2206 to get your tickets in advance. Remember, this is going to sell out, folks. So we want you to be with us because it's going to be a wonderful celebration of one of the greatest Chicago Bears of all time, one of the most charismatic figures that you and I have ever seen, Coop. And not only that, but just a wonderful person and his family. So please be there with us, folks. And don't forget, you can also support Team Mongo, folks, at moneyformongo.com.
Yeah, and all that information, by the way, guys, is on the bottom of the screen. So you can get your tickets for that. Get your tickets fast for that, though, too, because this will go pretty quick. So if you're thinking about going and you want to go, come on by, get those tickets, and we'd love to see you guys. And I can tell you from experience, I've volunteered for the last 6-7 years for the Walk to Defeat ALS here in Kentucky, Northern Kentucky, and in Louisville. And you have so many conversations with all these families, and that means the world to them when you're out there and you're out for these type of causes, and it puts a smile on their face. So I hope to see you guys out there. And it's going to be an awesome night. Well, we want to thank all you guys for being on with us tonight. I want to thank you, Cleet Sue Campbell. It's great to see you again. And make sure you guys follow along on our Facebook page because he does a lot. He writes a lot for our page. And are you working on something here, Cleet? You got something coming up that you can tease us with?
Yeah. I tell you what, so we're working on, one of our readers brought it up, and I apologize we didn't get to get into it. But, big night for NASCAR fans in Chicagoland for the first time in several years back in style. They're coming back with the Grant Park 220. This is a street circuit race that will be coming up this weekend right through the streets of downtown Chicago. It's a kind of race that Chicago hasn't seen before. It's got a very IndyCar Grand Prix style. It'll be a lot of fun. So I know it's going to be it's going to be great for race fans to have NASCAR back in the Windy City. So we'll have a piece on that going up hopefully tomorrow night at the latest about what folks can look for in that race.
Awesome. Can't wait to read it. And we love your articles, Cleet. So make sure you guys follow Cleet along, follow us along. We have great stuff going up all day. Want to thank everybody. Douglas, we see you. Thank you, Douglas, and Kyle and everybody else that has commented here earlier today. We've seen them all. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate your support. Cleet, thank you so much. Want to thank Trax, by the way, too. Thank you so much for having us be a part of this awesome team. And Cleet, we'll do it again next Wednesday, man.
Hey, sounds good. Same bat time, same bat channel, Coop. Great being with you, my friend.
All right, guys. You all have a good night. I'll see you guys later. See you, Cleet.
Thank you. See you, Coop. Good night, Chicago. Thanks for joining us, folks.